All right, guys. The topic today is probably pretty simple. I would figure turnovers and Texas A&M, right? The two things. The turnover thing. Just to go back and kind of put some statistical data to it, just to show you how frustrating it is. In our 5 prior seasons here, if you average out, we were the 13th best team in the country of not turning the football over. We were 13th best if you average it out over a 5-year period. We averaged 16 turnovers a season. 3 of those seasons were 13 games. So we were 13th ranked in 5 years worth of football, averaging 16 a year. Right now we're 127th out of 129 teams in turnovers lost, and we're at 25 already after 9 games. So it's pretty obvious, not that that's our only issue, but particularly the last 2 weeks, you have no chance to win. To throw 5 interceptions at Wyoming, come back the next week, and really fumble the ball 5 times. If you count the 4th and 1, we didn't make it. And therein lies the reason for our scoring offense not being what it's been, our red zone offense not being what it's been, and our scoring defense. I think we're 35th or something in the nation in total defense out of 129 teams, but we're not very good in scoring defense. So, not to get it down to just that, obviously there's more things than just the turnovers, but certainly that has been the story of this season. It started against New Mexico State with 4 turnovers, and we've not been able to get it solved. And I'm sure there's a lot of theories as to why. Now's not the time to really go through all the theories. I do think if there's one common thing to it, it probably could be expectations. If you look at Rick McCorley after the kind of season he had last year, kind of burst on the scene out of nowhere, all the touchdowns. I think the same could be said for Tyrone Owens, right? Jumped up last year, gained over 1,000 yards, came out of nowhere. Lamar obviously going into his senior season. Our team going into this season with expectations. And then when it doesn't go quite as you thought it would or hoped it would, maybe it is a little bit of trying too hard, trying to force things too much. Or maybe it's just coaching and mechanics. I don't think it's fair to say, well, over a 5-year period, we didn't turn the ball over, so that means we're really good coaches. See, this is just a crazy year. I'm not doing that with those statistics to try to make that point. Maybe it is fundamentals. Each one of those turnovers has been different, though. I have them all on a tape. We've kind of put terms on each one as to how the defense forced it. So it's been frustrating, but the turnover thing has been absolutely the number one storyline to this season, without a doubt. As far as Texas A&M, both these are huge challenges, right? Turnovers and Texas A&M. Obviously, we have a lot of ties to Texas A&M. I can speak for myself. I went there in 1985. Certainly, I owe a lot to Jackie Sherrill. I hit it when the timing was right. I had been with Jackie Sherrill at the University of Pittsburgh. Had a chance to go to Texas A&M when it was right. They'd put a lot of work into that program, and it was ready to explode. And then in 1989, R.C. Slocum became the head coach, and I became defensive coordinator, assistant head coach. We had a lot of good players, a lot of great players. I owe a lot to Texas A&M. I owe a lot to R.C. Slocum. He made me a better coach. He made me a better person. College Station made me a better coach and a better person. We had a lot of success there. I think I was there 9 years. We lost 3 games in Kyle Field in 9 years. My last 4 years, 90, 91, 92, 93, our last 4 years, we didn't lose a game in Kyle Field in 4 years. So it's a very tough place to win. I think they've won 28 straight non-conference games there. So it's a big challenge. There's a lot of ties on our staff. I could go through the list. Bob DeBess, Stan Egan, Brian Despain. We've got a couple of GAs, both that have ties there. Jordan Peterson played at A&M, was a GA at A&M. My son Clay was born in College Station. He was born there the night we beat Southern Miss in Jackson, Mississippi, and Brett Favre was the quarterback for Southern Miss. That's back in the day when you didn't have cell phones. And I was in the press box coaching, and I called back on Saturday morning before the game, and the doctor said, "Coach, just take your time. This baby's going to be born. You might as well just enjoy the game. Don't rush back. It's going to be born when you're back. Go down at halftime. Pay phone. Back pay phone outside the stadium now at halftime. Call again. Coach, just relax. That baby's going to be born. That baby's going to be born. There's nothing you can do about it." After the game, call back. Baby's still not born. Charter lands in College Station from Jackson, Mississippi. I drive to the hospital. As I walk in the hospital, true story, they are wheeling Joanne into the delivery room. And Clay was born about 4 or 5 minutes later. And I'll never forget, I came in, I had a tie on because we traveled with a tie. So I go in and Joanne's down, ready, and she says, "Take that damn tie off." In other words, it's time to go to work now. But, certainly a lot of memories, that not to go on, but, toughest decision I ever made was to leave Texas A&M and go to Notre Dame. It was the second time Lou Holtz tried to hire me. We played Notre Dame back-to-back Cotton Bowls in '93 and '94. And after the '94 Cotton Bowl, he offered me the job. I went up there, turned it down again, and eventually ended up taking that job. But a lot of memories there. It's a great place. They're a heck of a football team. They're a heck of a football team that plays in a great league. So I wish we were playing better right now. I wish we were, but we're not. And we can't let outside things that are happening to us, either it's our record or any of those things, take away from just the opportunity to go play in a great college football atmosphere with so much at stake. We have a lot of Texas players. Unfortunately, so do they. So it's obviously a crowd noise is a factor. It's not like Alabama coming in there, obviously. But, it is just what college football is supposed to be. So, Rick, you want to start it off? Turnovers in Texas A&M, right?
Yep. Lamar said that Coach Grubb and Coach Satch were actually getting involved in the ball security drills. If anybody can rip the ball out, it would be them. Is that new?
Yeah, we had all three of them, Johnny McWilliams, Grubb, and Satch, try to knock the ball out in any way possible in drills. Both to have a little bit of fun with it, again, because, there's only so much you can keep talking about it and keep drilling it. Yeah, so our three strongest guys, allegedly, self-reported wise anyhow, our three strongest guys were out there trying to get the football out.
You mentioned the crowd noise. You were pumping it in at practice to kind of get the guys used to it. How much does that help when they get to game day?
I think it helps because you're not shocked by it. That is part of the SEC. I've read comments by other SEC players that when they go play in a great environment, like when Georgia went to Notre Dame this year and beat Notre Dame, I saw where one of the Georgia players said crowd noise really wasn't a factor like it is in the SEC. That is what the SEC is. There were times I remember back in the stadium when I was there, the other team had no chance, literally. They couldn't check at the line of scrimmage. They couldn't go on a snap count at the line of scrimmage. And the crowd just absolutely took the game over. It's one of my fondest memories ever in coaching was just that feeling of electricity in that stadium and truly, I don't even call it a 12th man. It's like a 13th or 14th man, really. And we thrived off that, and we were a blitz defense where they can't check. And you have just as much advantage on defense as they do on offense because you're going on silent count. So you have to practice it. You have to practice it. We've done some silent snap counts. We've done that in other stadiums. We actually did that at Boise this year. for a good part of the game. You know, but this is a whole different animal here. This is 100,000 people.
Coach, when you're talking about expectations, maybe one of those things, or you're talking about expectations being so high and then something doesn't go your way and you guys get discouraged and then something else doesn't go your way and it just keeps snowballing.
Absolutely. You know, absolutely. I mean, this season is not over, but right now the script of this season is the frustration of individual players and us as a team having higher expectations going in. And you go back to the second game of the year, the turnover bug hit. And that takes the energy, that causes everybody to get jolted, that causes everybody to lose a little bit of confidence. And then I think sometimes overcompensation or overcorrection leads to more of the same. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not ready to say that it's that part of it. I'm still on the part of mechanics, and each and every time the balls come out, it's been either us being sloppy with mechanics, or in the case of the one Saturday night, number 51 from Utah State, absolutely just yanked that ball out of Rick McCorley's arms. So I think you got to be careful of going down the philosophical, woe with me, the football gods aren't with us, you know, because you have to solve it. You have to solve it. And that's been our goal.
Coach, serious question. You've been on both sides of this deal. Why do upsets happen? Can you literally plan or devise a way to upset a big ranked team?
Yeah, you got to go play the game. You know, there is that dreaded word of parity. There is more of that now in college football than there ever has been. Our goal is just to play the very best we can play. You know, we do have some liabilities right now in certain areas, but we've got to raise up and somehow do the extra. We have to do the extra, and we have to fix the things that the reason we couldn't beat Wyoming or Utah State, we have to fix that. We have to fix that. So it's a combination of improving, getting better, and like always, just playing your best game. You know, it's not going to happen by some magical thing. We have this many coaches from Texas, or we have this many players from Texas. You know, you have to go play the game. And you do have to, at some point, be able to, a lot of people call it the outside noise, right? Where you just are able to not let that affect how you practice and how you play. I just take the example of your record. You can't let that be a weight on you all week, because when the ball's kicked off, nobody cares what your record is. It's you competing against that guy, and it's that coach competing against that other coach. So just as an example, you have to be able to say, none of it matters at the moment. I'm going to go make contact with that guy. It's me and that guy.
The ingredients for knocking off Texas A&M, I got to believe we have to go mistake-free for one time. And then we haven't been able to do that. Of course, our defense is the best I've seen in a long time. We can play with these guys. And then with our potential of great kicking game, don't you think those three ingredients, if we can do that, we have a good chance of knocking them off?
That's it. You know, in 1989, I took a Notre Dame team to LSU. And there's not a more hostile environment than LSU. We went down there. They were highly ranked. We did not turn the ball over. We did not have a penalty. And we beat LSU in their stadium. I think there's a little bit more than just playing error-free. We have to tackle their skill position players. You look at their two running backs, number 5 and number 7, powerful, powerful. You look at their wide receiver, number 3, number 4, a couple other wide receivers, powerful. I mean, they're SEC players that you have to tackle in space. And then we have to figure out a way to, we're not going to block them all night. They're too good. But we have to come up with a way to minimize negative plays by their defense and get plays started. And then we can't punt the ball right down the middle of the field to number 3. You know, he's the leading punt returner in college football. I don't want to say history, Brian, but he's the leading punt returner over the last several years. So there's a lot of X and O things that you have to control, but certainly if we make mistakes, we have no chance. We have, you know, that's what our Achilles heel has been, making mistakes.
You got A&M this year and Notre Dame in 2019, I guess?
Yeah, we go to Wisconsin next year.
Did you play a personal role in any of these
You know, probably a little bit more with the Notre Dame one. Those games are hard to get to go to South Bend. And probably Texas A&M with Brian Despain's ties there. You know, certainly the financial issue plays into it. And both of those are pretty big paychecks. And you know, they're great opportunities to go to. I think if you're going to go on the road like we've done, I think you do want to go to the biggest and the best and give these kids an opportunity to really experience that and go play in a Kyle Field or go play in Notre Dame Stadium and go play at Wisconsin, next year. So if we're going to go and we're going to go play, let's go to the biggest and the best and call it what it is. You know, it's a heck of a payday and an opportunity to go let these kids experience that.
Kind of a follow-up to that question, schedule, and I know it's a ways off because you got some big ones still coming. Have there been future talks of other SEC or Power 5 opponents?
Yeah, Brian, you probably have the answer to that right now.
So we'll actually go back to A&M in 2021. USC's in there in 2020. I know it's not an SEC, but it's in there. And then there's conversations beyond 2021 with very similar schools.
So we have USC, Texas A&M, yeah, Notre Dame.
UCLA is 2025.
Rick, 2025, you and me. going to the Rose Bowl, right? You got your reservation? Yeah, me too.
Coach, fishing for a way to get the edge, do you try to devise that before you get on the airplane? How can I get the edge on this big team? And that whole stadium thing, they're going to kick your butt before they even get there. But if you score first and out hit them and there's a turnover, now you're up 2 touchdowns, you've seen it all happen. Can that in fact be a reality, or is that pie in the sky?
Well, you have to get off to a fast start. You know, that's the thing about those kind of stadiums. You know, if there's blood in the water, the blood in the water. You know, if you start having false starts, if you put the ball on the ground, if you turn the ball over, that is truly momentum, where people force the momentum when it happens. So, yeah, you start the first day of the week. You start the first day of the week when we finished up Sunday with Utah State. We gave the kids about a 15-minute break, and then we started on Texas A&M, just the big picture of going to College Station and Texas A&M. So, you know, absolutely preparing for, you know, back to the question of no mistakes, you know, and we started with turnovers again. Bob.
How fragile is the program right now, and how important is it to finish on a high note, if you will, because of all the strides, the momentum the program has had these last couple of years, the concern that all that kind of tossed by the wayside if you end up, you know, 7-game losing streaks at the end of the season? Yeah,
I hope it's not fragile. You know, we have, I think, built a pretty strong foundation here. I would use the word more frustrating, quite honestly. You know, I did say before the season that in my mind this season was kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of a reboot kind of situation, a transition season to a degree, because of all the graduations with guys that had played 4 years. You know, you go back, I can go through all those names again. Honestly, I thought it would be more transitional on defense because of the youth. Then the offensive line thing jumped up and has just bit us, in the turnover thing. I don't think fragile is the right word. I think the program, as we walked off the field against UTSA, was probably as strong as the program's been academically, retention of coaches, retention of players. You know, we're at New Mexico. You're not gonna. There's gonna be dips, and there's gonna be ebbs and flows. You know, you're not gonna. You know, let's be honest now. You're not gonna win 9 games every year at New Mexico. It's a battle. You know, we beat Utah State the last 2 years on the final field goal of the game. That's what New Mexico football is. So I don't see fragile. What I see is we have to scratch and claw to win. And when we don't finish the season up 13th as far as best teams in the country not turning the ball over, we're not going to win enough to go to a bowl game. We have to be error-free to win here. And when you're not, this is what happens. You know, we were totally capable of winning that game Saturday night. You go through all those statistics, all the first downs, all the yardage. But again, we are not going to overcome the kind of mistakes we've been making. And that's on me. You know, that's somehow we have to get this thing corrected in the short term and then certainly get it corrected in the long term. But to say it's fragile, I think it's as strong as it's ever been.
Coach, how much of a priority is like recruiting offensive linemen this time around?
Has been. It has been.
It's just hard to get them.
Well, we've had some, you know, our retention rate of players has been really, really good here for this level of football, for what's going on now in modern day athletics with players transferring every time you turn around. But where we have had losses has been on the offensive line. You know, we've lost 4 offensive linemen when I think back right now. And then we've had 3 hurt. And we have 7 offensive linemen right now that we counted on starting back in about February and March that really either aren't here or aren't playing 100% right now. I'm putting Teton in that group now as one of those guys. But if you look at it, we never have built that offensive line like we have built the defensive line, where there's some young players that have stayed in the program and we're pretty good now. We've had a deficiency there. We've had a deficiency, and that's unacceptable, but we have.
Coach, this might be a silly question, but where are you putting Colton Gerhardt right now with the 2 quarterbacks where they are and stuff? I know he hadn't seemed to be in the plans anymore, and he did such a tremendous job. I know Tulsa's not Texas A&M and not maybe San Diego, but where is he right now?
I think that's a good question. You know, we put him in at the end of the Wyoming game for a couple plays. And I kind of answered this last week. I mean, how many different guys can you try, though? You know, are you just going to say right now Lamar's not the guy, you know, who's a senior and has put so much into this program and he's going back to Texas and he fights his butt off? Are you going to say Tavaka, the freshman with the talent and the arm strength, you're not going to play him? It's hard. You know, we haven't had any rhythm on offense as it is, you know, and Colton's niche is a little bit different. I do think he's pretty good. I do think Colton Gerhardt and Tavaka, as we stand here right now, and this is next year, are going to battle for that starting quarterback position. I really do. But I think you got to watch, and I understand completely what you see. I think Tulsa schematically allowed us to do some things. I'm not taking anything away from Colton. He played his tail off. But they did allow the quarterback out a lot in that game. And he took advantage of it and did a heck of a job. It's just at some point it's hard to get 3 of them in there. It just is. And right now, just because of what I said with Lamar being a senior and having so much invested, and it's hard to take a rep away from Lamar. And if it's Tavaka, it's hard to take one away from him right now because you're just trying to develop Tavaka.
Anything else?
Coach in recruiting, how many of their players were you trying to get? And then the other part of that question is, do they have a whole bunch of highly recruited players versus how many highly recruited players the Lobos went after?
You're going to make me answer that question. You're going to make me answer that. There's not one, put it this way, there's not one kid on our team that had a Texas A&M offer. Okay? I mean, that's the real world, right?
We need to hear that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of obvious, though. I mean, you know, that's a pretty obvious one there. You know, let's understand what New Mexico football is now. Let's all take a deep breath here, and let's understand. We have the lowest budget in the Mountain West Conference, in the Mountain West, of 12 teams. I don't think we're going to go blow an SEC stadium out and impress that kid to come here. Right? All right, guys, thank you.